Narrator VO. Imagine a man standing about 1.67 meters tall by today's standard, average. But at the turn of the 19th century, in a Europe of towering palace guards and even taller crowns, that height could be seen as ... small. Yet this man Napoleon Bonaparte would go on to terrify the courts and the battlefields of Europe, not because of how tall he was, but because of how brilliant, how relentless ... how visionary he was as a general, a leader, an emperor. Today, we delve into the meteoric rise, the genius of strategy, the iron will, and the indomitable legacy of the man known simply as Napoleon. Napoleon was born in Corsica in 1769, into a family of minor provincial nobility wealthy by island standards, but far from the palaces of Versailles. At 9, he was shipped to the French mainland for military school. There, classmates mocked his accent, his surname, and yes, his height. Instead of sulking, he studied mathematics, geography, gunnery tables, ancient campaigns. He devoured them like a gamer speedrunning a strategy title, quick to understand, quick to memorize, and already able to lead. During a snowball fight with schoolmate Burian, he orchestrated flanking maneuvers that foreshadowed Austria. When the revolution exploded in 1789, Europe's old order cracked like brittle porcelain. Napoleon seized the moment. His first triumph came at Toulon in 1793, a perfectly timed artillery strike that expelled the British fleet and propelled the 24-year-old to brigadier general. He was not merely a fighter, he was a reformer who understood propaganda law and the politics of imagery, skills that would prove deadlier than any cannon. Napoleon saw war as chess played on 3 boards at once: battlefield, home front, diplomatic corridor. Take the 1796 Italian campaign. He turned a starving, shoeless French army into a rapier that carved Austria out of northern Italy, then converted military victories into satellite republics loyal to Paris. He invested in supply lines, medical corps, and an intelligence network that reported faster than enemy couriers could ride. His military method was built on speed, surprise, and concentration of force. Divide and conquer, yes, but also adapt. At Lodi he stormed a narrow bridge under heavy fire, proving to his men that their general would stand in the musket smoke with them. Officers were promoted on merit, not pedigree. A son of a baker could command a division if he delivered victories. Napoleon's personal leadership was legendary. He rode ahead of the columns, shared their rations, and spoke their language literally and emotionally. The nickname Le Petit Caporal was not mockery, it was endearment. It told every grognard that the small man on the grey horse was one of them, only quicker with a map and faster with a decision. Coalition after coalition rose: Austria, Prussia, Russia, Britain, and each time Napoleon shattered their plans, redrew borders, and placed brothers or allies on newly minted thrones. At the 1812 Dresden Conference, he summoned kings like pupils to the headmaster's office, dazzling them with ceremonies while dictating terms. Fear became diplomatic currency. Oppose France and risk losing your crown. Negotiate and maybe keep it under his oversight. Back home, he built the code, a civil law cornerstone still influencing jurisdictions from Louisiana to Lebanon. He restructured education, founded, balanced the budget, created the Banque de France, and professionalized the civil service. A strong, centralized state collected taxes, policed streets, delivered justice efficiently, secularly, and with the emperor's silhouette on every coin to remind citizens whose machine it was. Confidence, symbolism, political timing. He crowned himself before the Pope, wore imperial laurels, and understood that power is half performance. Height became irrelevant when the room filled with his rapid-fire questions, memory for details, and the certainty that history was leaning in his direction. But even Napoleon had his limits. The 1812 Russian campaign proved disastrous: an overextended supply line, a scorched earth adversary, and a winter that bit like steel traps reduced 600,000 men to a frozen trickle. Moscow burned, Napoleon retreated. Europe sensed mortality. Each defeat taught the Allies coordination. The British financed, the Russians absorbed, the Prussians reformed, the Austrians negotiated time. Together they chipped away at the French colossus. Years of conscription, rising taxes, and the continental blockades, economic chokehold, bred war weariness at home. When power is personalized, every mistake reverberates like a cathedral bell. After the 100-day comeback, the Duke of Wellington and Marshal Blucher slammed the door at Waterloo. Napoleon abdicated, was shipped to St. Helena, and died on the 5th of May 1821. Stomach ailment, arsenic wallpaper, or sheer disappointment, history still debates, yet Napoleon's legacy endures. The Napoleonic Code shaped continental Europe's legal DNA, his administrative model prefects, the metric system modernized nations, nationalism, born in the fires of his wars, spread from the Iberian Peninsula to the Balkans, rewriting the map of the 19th and 20th centuries. Modern historians place him at roughly 5 feet 6 to 7 inches, perfectly average for a Frenchman of 1,800. British propaganda and different inch standards forged the tiny tyrant myth, proving that stature can be shrunk by cartoons and caricature. Napoleon's story offers lessons for today's leaders. Vision without logistics is hallucination. See Moscow 1812. Meritocracy can outfight aristocracy. Any of his marshals. Image matters. Control the narrative, or the narrative controls you. Yet ambition untethered from reality courts catastrophe. Every empire needs breaks, feedback, and the humility to winter in friendly territory. Narrator VO. So here was a man just about 1.67 meters tall, not a giant by physical measure, but in every other measure intellect, ambition, courage, leadership. He cast a shadow that loomed across all of Europe. He made nations tremble, kings tremble, armies tremble, but he also built laws, built reforms, built an idea of leadership that echoes to this day. Napoleon teaches us, greatness is not about size, it is about vision, not about comfort, but sacrifice. Not just about winning battles, but forging institutions. If you want more stories of leaders who defied expectations of people who were less average in appearance but far above average in impact, then smash that subscribe button. Hit like if you believe leadership is bigger than height. Leave a comment. What quality of Napoleon impresses you most? His strategy, his reforms, or his charisma? Until next time, stay curious, because history isn't just what happened, it's how we learn to lead.